In this video, I'll be going over the Fantasy Grounds 5th edition rule set combat tracker. And the combat tracker is used in Fantasy Grounds in order to manage all aspects of combat, except for those that are being done on the battle map. So the combat tracker works in conjunction with the battle map. However, a battle map is not required for combat. You can do everything you need within the combat tracker itself. So you can conduct both battle map type combats and theater of the mind type combats, style of combat completely within the combat tracker. So first off, let's open up the combat tracker. The combat tracker is located here on this sidebar up at the very top in our campaign buttons. We have the combat tracker, which is this crossed swords. And so the combat tracker here. I've pre-added some players and some NPCs to the combat tracker. We'll go over the interface and what they mean. So here up at the very top left, we have this little eyeball symbol. This is a quick toggle to make all of the NPCs either visible or hidden. So I can quickly toggle the visibility of my NPCs. You'll notice as I click it, it changes the individual eye symbols next to each NPC. I, of course, have the name column, the initiative column, the max hit points, the temporary hit points, and the wounds that any of these entries are currently suffering from. And then we'll go over these various other button elements here when we get in just a minute. So on each individual element, we have the token that is going to be used when this creature is added to a map. So let's go ahead and add a creature to a map so we can see how that's done. So if we're going to be using a map, we can just go ahead and once the NPC has been added to the combat tracker, then we can go ahead and add the creature to the map directly from the combat tracker. In Fantasy Grounds, you should always add to the combat tracker first. Do not add the NPC entry directly to the map. Things will not work appropriately. Once our creature has been added to our map, we can see here this is now linked with this particular creature. If I hide the creature using this little eye symbol again, it will hide it on the map from the players, so players won't be able to see it. Some additional elements here on the token symbol, and this may be a little difficult to see. It's very small. In the top right of the token is a green ID. There's a green circle with the letters ID inside it. And that is the NPC's identification. And is this NPC marked as identified or not identified? And you can toggle that here in the combat tracker. Now, the effect of that is that if a creature is marked as not ID'd, then it will change its name from, its identified name to just unidentified creature. If that NPC entry has a special name identified in its non-ID name field, then that's what will appear. So you can say unidentified dragon or unidentified humanoid or whatever you would like. You can customize, but the default will just be unidentified creature, and that's toggleable. It is going to affect all creatures of the same type. So if I have 5 acolytes here and I unidentify one, they will all be unidentified. So it does group them, their identification by type. Now, when players are added, you'll notice that none of my players have an initiative rolled. So by default, when players are added, their initiative is not rolled. I currently have the option to roll NPC initiatives automatically when added to the combat tracker, so you can see the players' initiatives are blank. And we'll be able to automate that. Typically, we make our players roll initiative themselves, but if necessary, we can automate that as well. So let's take a look at the buttons down here. Here on the bottom right, we have a listing of the rounds. So this will increment as we progress through initiative, and every time it resets back to the top of initiative order, the round will increment. And this allows us to keep track of the progression of the battle, as well as any effects which are going to be expiring. And they should expire automatically if their durations are set appropriately. Here on the left, we have the initiative flag. So once we start combat, by selecting this next actor button. Once we start the combat order, then this initiative flag will appear up here, and it will proceed to point through whoever currently has initiative in initiative order. So we can do that, but let's go ahead and roll initiative for our players first. So that's where this menu button comes in. If we click on the menu button, we have several different options. The first one we'll take a look at is initiative. And with initiative, we have several sub-options. One, we can clear all of the initiatives. This will wipe everybody's initiative, players and NPCs alike. We can choose to roll players' initiatives. Again, normally you'd have players roll their own, but for purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to go ahead and roll it. We can re-roll the NPCs' initiatives, or we can just roll everybody's. So I'll go ahead and roll the PC. So now everybody's got their new order. And when I'm ready to begin the fight, the combat, I can go ahead and press the next actor button. All right, so as you can see here on the chat, it is now progressed to Figanofetch's turn, and he will have the opportunity to conduct his attacks. So when you're using the combat tracker, it's important that when you're making attacks and things like that, that you have the appropriate targeted, or that you have the appropriate enemy targeted. So when you have a character that has initiative, so in this case Figanofetch has initiative, if I hold the control button down and then click on another token, you can see I've now targeted that token. You can do the same thing from the map by clicking on your token and then control clicking on another token. But in the combat tracker, whoever has initiative can do this. So if I want to target the ogre, or if I want to target a friend, I can do that all from here directly within the combat tracker. When I am done with my turn, as the players, they have the ability to select the next actor themselves when it's their turn. Pressing it when it's not their turn won't do anything. But as the DM, I will select the next actor, and it will progress initiative to the next person. And then they can conduct their battle plans or whatever. Typically, a player will have their character sheet open to their actions tab, and then they'll be able to make attacks and damage rolls and use their powers and special abilities directly from their character sheet. With NPCs, however, we do not have the character sheet as easily available, and a lot of times it's not handy to constantly be opening the character sheet. So the NPCs, you can open the character sheet using the link button on the right, same as a player, and it gives you access to buttons to roll the various things, but there is an easier way, which we'll go over shortly. You'll notice that the interface doesn't really make any changes when a player gains initiative. However, when an NPC gains initiative, it behaves slightly differently. You'll notice that when the ogre gained initiative, it opened up this section. Now this section is actually this little sword symbol, the offense section. And this gives the DMs a shortcut to have all of the information that they need in order to process that character's turn, generally. So for example, if this ogre is going to make an attack against Figanofetch, he can target Figan. He can, here is his great club, he can double click it and make an attack roll against Figan and hit, and double click it and make a damage roll. And then he's done with his turn. Perhaps he's going to no longer target Figan, and then the DM will press the next actor button. So each time an NPC comes up, it'll open that appropriate window for that NPC. So you'll have access to all of the traits, actions, spells, abilities that NPC has defined on their character sheet. Now, additionally, if we don't want to target, we can make attack rolls by dragging and dropping the appropriate fields. So in this case, this air elemental, let's say he wants to make a slam attack against Centaurus, but I don't want to go through the process of appropriately targeting him and then running the attack. I can grab this attack roll, left click, hold it down, drag it onto Centaurus, and let go. And you can see here that it will make the attack roll against Centaurus. And I can do the same thing for damage. I can drag and drop it as necessary. So those are a couple of different options that you can do directly here from the combat tracker. If there are any additional effects like this whirlwind, you can force a saving throw. So it makes the saving throw, it does some additional damage, and it will knock him prone. You can see all of these are just being applied by dragging and dropping onto the appropriate character or target. And then when we're done, we hit the next actor. Now, I do suggest that as DMs, you encourage your players to take this next actor button and drag it down to your shortcuts bar. And then they and you can use this at any time during gameplay to quickly pass their turn, or you can pass an NPC's turn if necessary. All right. So let's take a look at a few of the other menu options. So we talked about initiative. The next that we can talk about is a rest. Now this is only going to be applying to our players, but you can have issue a long rest or a short rest to fully heal your players, get everybody up to their max normal restored state with powers and hit points and everything else. So that'll process for everybody that's on the combat tracker. We also have effects. Now effects allows us to clear all effects. Now you can see here the effects lines are these things here that appear on the NPCs. Quite often you'll have players that have various spells or other things that are currently active on their character that'll also be effects. If we want to clear all of them, we can use the clear all effects button, but be aware that this will clear even things that are intended to be permanent. Like for example, this air elemental has resistance to lightning and thunder. That should always be on there. There's no reason to remove that because it's an inherent part of the NPC's capabilities. If you clear all effects, it will wipe those out. So instead you have the clear expiring effects. This will clear any effect that has a duration defined. So anything that says this is going to run out in 3 rounds or something like that, it will go ahead and clear those out for you. So that's more commonly used if you want to say, okay, combat's over, we're going to clear out the expiring effects because we're not going to be doing anything, and anything that's currently there will naturally expire. So those are the 2 options there. Additionally, we can do things to delete from the tracker. Now, normally when we have an NPC or a player, let's use an NPC, this acolyte as an example, and it takes some damage. Let's say we take one of these damage rolls. Let's have the ogre, the ogre will attack the acolyte. So let's give the ogre initiative, and he's going to make an attack roll against the acolyte. And he'll hit, of course, and he's going to damage him. Let's say he does it a second round, and he damages him again, and the acolyte is dead. You can see his wounds have counted up to be equal to his hit points, so he's now marked as unconscious. Fantasy Grounds doesn't mark it as dead, it just marks it as unconscious. And then for player characters, it'll automatically roll the various death saving throws as necessary if you have those options enabled. But you notice that this acolyte also now has the red delete symbol here on the right. If you want to delete him, you can just double click on that and that will remove them. Now this works also if the character is added to the map. So let's say this Aarakocra, let's kill him. One hit, he killed him, it looks like. All right, so our Aarakocra is now unconscious. Now if I delete him from the combat tracker, it will also delete him from the map. So it removes him from both locations at the same time. So that's also handy. Now, let's say we have a bunch of NPCs in here that have not been added to the map yet. We've also got a bunch of players that need to be added. You have 2 options to do that. The first option is to drag each individual character down and drop their tokens onto the map in their location. That can be slow, especially if you have a whole bunch of tokens. So we do have some shortcuts down here. We have the friendly shortcut, which allows us to grab all of the entries marked in green, basically all of the players, and then we have all of the hostile. You notice it adds them in this kind of a diagonal line, and then you can quickly arrange them wherever you need to. If you had any creatures marked as neutral, so for example if I were to add a half ogre, but half ogre is actually neutral, so I'm going to switch that here. I can add them all as neutral. Now, when I added it added it as hidden, so I have to toggle that to make it visible. Otherwise, it's not naturally going to be visible. So now I've got a half ogre added into my combat. So back to what I was saying a moment ago about deleting. Here we have in the menu, we have the delete from tracker button. Now in delete from tracker, we have two options. We have delete all non-friendly and delete only foes. And what this will do is this allows us to quickly remove all or most of the NPCs that are remaining on the combat tracker. Delete only foes will only delete the NPCs that are marked in red. So it will, in this case, it will not delete the half ogre. Delete all non-friendly will delete everybody that's not green. So only the player characters will remain. So if I wipe them all out, everything's been removed. All right, let me add some creatures back here. Allosaurus. And we'll make them all visible so that I can use them again. All right, so now let's take a look at the rest of these buttons here and how we can use them. This first column here that we have with the helmets of various colors. These helmets refer to what faction this particular entry belongs to. Green means friendly, so that's all of the player characters generally. Red is hostile, so that's all of your enemies that you'll be fighting against. And the yellow is neutral, so those are things that may or may not fight against you depending on the scenario. The fourth option is just blank. It means there's no faction set. Generally don't use that one. Now you notice the color around your character on the map will correspond to this color. So if I add the half ogre, it will be yellow on the map, so you can see that that one's considered neutral. If I remove and I leave it to blank, it has no coloration applied to it. Again, let me add all of the NPCs here really quick. Put them here in the map. All right, so this next button, now earlier I showed you that when a character has initiative, they can then control click on another token and target them. This next column, which kind of looks like a arrow target, allows us to have additional control over who's targeting, even if it's not somebody's particular turn. So let's say Figanofetch, for whatever reason, wants to target the Allosaurus, but it's Shara's turn. Now, normally the player would do this on their own, but in this case, we're just demonstrating what the DM option is. So we have this targeting symbol. We can drag and drop it onto the Allosaurus, and now it shows that he is targeting the Allosaurus. In this mode, you'll see the token of their target. If you collapse it, you will see the name of the target, but there is no real difference. You can also quickly clear all your targets. So if you target all of your party, and then cast a heal spell, and then you can quickly toggle that off. Something that you can do with your NPCs. So that's our targeting one. Next up is the attributes. Now, attributes gives us the basic simple stat scores. So, you know, your 6 different stat scores. Now, directly from here, we can go ahead and actually roll for these stats. So, for example, if I want to do a strength check, all I have to do is double click on the strength score, and it will roll me a strength check. Scroll down. So you can see here the Allosaurus now rolled a strength check. If I hold down Control and double click on it, or Shift, excuse me, and double click on it, it will roll a saving throw. So if I just double click on it, it'll do a check. If I hold Shift and double click on it, it will do a saving throw for that particular stat. This is in those cases where you don't have something pre-programmed into an action or ability. If you need something very quick, like this is going to be a contested thing of my grappling strength score versus your dexterity score or something like that. You can go ahead and make those checks very quickly there. The third one is the one we previously looked at, and that's the offense. This is the one that automatically opens and closes when an NPC gains initiative. But we can open it up if we need to take like a reaction and it's not this NPC's turn. We can open it up and have access to all of the abilities there. If the NPC does use a reaction, we can mark that here. It's something that we have to manually do, but we can mark it as reaction so that we know that it's been used up. Then when it comes back to its turn, that will be reset and blanked. And again, we talked about how you can use the elements here to process your attack rolls, either by targeting or just by dragging and dropping it onto to who you're going to apply it to. We also have some information about the armor class, any initiative bonuses, and any speed that this character has. Information that you might need to know on that character's turn or that NPC's turn. The next field, which kind of looks like a baseball diamond, is the space and reach field, or is it size and reach? Yeah, space and reach field. So in here we have two values. We have the size and we have reach. Now these are really only going to be displayed or visual, have any meaning for when that NPC is added to the map. So here we have the Allosaurus token. So we're going to take a look at the Allosaurus token. And we can see here that it is a size 10. Now its NPC entry means it's large, right? So it's a large beast taking up 10 feet by 10 feet. So that's what the size refers to. If we want to increase its size, we can say it's a huge beast, and we'll make it a 15. Now, you'll notice that it resized the red square, but it did not resize the token. I can automatically fix that just by dragging the token back and dropping it, and it will do the appropriate new size. Or I can hold Control and use my mouse scroll wheel to manually adjust the size of the token here on the map. So that's its size. Medium and smaller will default to 5. So medium, small, tiny will all default to 5. And then it goes up. Large is 10, huge is 15, gargantuan is 20. Are the standard size ranges here in 5th edition. Now reach, in this case, refers to this darker gray outline that surrounds my, my NPC. So in this Allosaurus currently has a reach of 5. So everything within 5 squares is grayed. Most NPCs are just going to leave it at the default, and players are going to leave that as the default value of 5. But if you have an NPC that has an exceptional reach, for whatever reason its attacks have a reach of, say, 10, when I change that, if I mouse over, then it will increase that range to 10. And that will also adjust naturally for the size. So if I re-add a large creature with a range of 10, it adjusts that, that shaded area as well for the appropriate size. Last up, we have our effects. This will be the list of any effects. Let's see if we have, like the air elemental we saw a moment ago. You can see comes with a bunch of effects already set. These are pulled from the NPC's stat block. So the resistances to various attack types, the immunities to various damage types and conditions are all automatically generated based on the NPC's record. And those will be listed here as well. In addition, if there are any effects that are caused by a character casting a spell or whatever, those will be listed here. We can open up that effects field and we can see some information here about the effect. The first in this top left hand is green on symbol. That just means that the effect is active. If I click it, I can switch to skip one use, which means that it's going to skip it the next time around. And I can mark it as inactive, so it's no longer going to be applicable. Perhaps this is something that's been suppressed that may come back at a later date, but right now, for now, it's turned off. This blue GM symbol at the bottom is whether or not this is visible to the players or not. So the GM symbol means no, it's only visible to the GM. If I switch it to the VSBL, which is visible to all, it's a lighter blue, and that just means that the players are going to be able to see the information located here. So those are the two toggles that you have. Now, this one we have, which one is this effect? What type of roles will this effect apply to? So in this case, all means it'll apply to all roles. Is this going to apply to just a single action? Action is the next one. Or is it going to apply to only a single role? or apply only once per each element. So if you want more information about that, I suggest you would take a look for some videos on effects coding, and they cover the various meanings of what those options are. Over here on the right, we have the duration. This is going to be the number of rounds that this effect is going to be enabled. So if it's only going to be, last one turn or one round, you just put in the number there. And if this is going to expire on somebody's turn, you can put their initiative value here. So if this is going to expire on Dorog's turn, in this case, we would put 20 as the initiative that it expires on. If there is any effect targeting for this effect, you can do that and click and drag it onto a target, and you can see that now this effect is targeting this person. So you can adjust that. And then if you need to delete any effects, you just, of course, double click on the delete symbol, and that effect is now gone and will no longer be applied. All right, so those are all of the effects. So when we are preparing to run through combat, so we've looked at all of the different elements here. When we're preparing to run through combat, the keys are to first make sure all your NPCs and players are added to the combat tracker appropriately. Make sure everybody's got their initiatives rolled, and everybody's been, if you're going to use a battle map, everybody's been added to the battle map appropriately. And then as you proceed through initiative, you start initiative, each player will make their action. They'll use their character sheets to conduct their attacks and roll damages and other such things. And then when they're done, they'll pass their turn. This is something that you can remind them of, to pass their turn. And then when it's the NPC's turn, largely what you'll do is stay here on this offense field, and you'll conduct whatever attacks or whatever actions they'll be taking. Moving, everything you can do directly here. These are just for reference, but you can do all of the attacks directly here from the entry. If you have a situation where your NPC has bonuses to a particular skill, so this one does not do, I don't know if any of these do. So for what I'm talking about is, for example, if you have a bonus to deception, and say you have a deception +4 for this ogre. You can see here I've added it to this ogre's NPC record. There's no way on the combat tracker to make a deception check other than just using the basic stat, which we would do here on the attributes. We could do a charisma check. But that's not going to take into account any proficiency bonus or any additional bonus that this character may have. So those you will have to roll from the character sheet. So we can then directly roll that, a deception check, and you'll see it's included the appropriate +4 rather than just a charisma check with the -2 that would otherwise be associated. So we do have the ability to roll these things directly from character sheets. We can also do the same thing with great clubs. We can drag and drop that. We can drag and drop the damage rolls and see basically everything that we need to reference directly from here. But that's all done if necessary. You can do all of that directly here from the combat tracker without opening the character sheet. It's only skills that are not directly available from the combat tracker. We've covered everything on the menu. One additional thing I wanted to point out, as you're proceeding through initiative, it's always possible that you as the DM have accidentally clicked ahead when you didn't mean to. So one thing you can do is to drag and drop the flag, the initiative flag, and just drag and drop it to whoever's initiative it needs to be. Now you'll notice that along this left-hand side, there are a series of pips, these little circles here next to them. It's important that when you drag this flag, you don't drag it onto their token, you just drag it onto the little circle. Now those may look different depending on the theme that you currently have loaded. This is the default 5th edition theme, so those are these little circles that appear. One other little tip that I did want to mention is about fixing mistakes. So here on the combat tracker, you have things like the hit points. Now I can use Control and my mouse wheel to scroll up and down to add, remove damage very easily. So let's say that was, now he's fully healed. Let's take an example where my ogre, I accidentally included targeting this Centaurus. So let's delete these effects. Let's say I accidentally rolled some damage and I hit Centaurus because I forgot to untarget him. So I can undo that a couple of different ways. First off is I can right click and I can click negate value. And then grab it and drag it and drop it. And you'll notice that the opposite of 13 is negative 13, and so that will turn from a damage to a heal. So let's say I do that again. There's another way that I can do it. So I've applied 7 damage. Oops. So I can hold control down, grab the number, and drag and drop it. That will automatically negate the value. So I can do the same thing and say, okay, I rolled that 7. I accidentally hit Centaurus. So let's say I wanted the 7 to apply to Durug. I can grab that and drag it and drop it directly onto their token in the combat tracker. I can do the same thing for attack rolls. Let's say I forgot to target and I rolled an attack roll here in the combat tracker. I've got a 16, but I don't know whether I hit or not. I can fix that by dragging that result directly onto my target. And now it'll apply that 16 against Figgin. Yep, I hit. And then I can do whatever damage I needed to do additionally. So those are just a couple of shortcuts that you can use to quickly fix mistakes that DMs and players will sometimes make. Accidentally healing an NPC, or accidentally damaging the wrong NPC, or accidentally damaging their fellow party members because they didn't remember to untarget them. Now the last little tidbit, little interface thing that I wanted to explain was, you'll notice that on all of these player character entries, there is a green, or there's the little chain link symbol next to some of these values. Now there's no actual interface need for them. These don't actually do anything specific that you as a DM or the player will need access to. What this does is it indicates that this field is actually linked to a record on your character sheet. So if I change this field, it will change on your character sheet. So if I take Centaurus and I lower his hit points, you can see that they change also on the character sheet at the same time. NPCs do not have this linkages because every time you add an NPC, it creates a copy of the NPC record here on the combat tracker. So the combat tracker record does not point back to a master NPC version. But the player characters record, of course, does point back to the player characters record. And so it shows these little link symbols indicating that those fields are directly tied to the player character's character sheet. Thank you.